Yo, hello. We are back with some more Hapymaher, but this time we are starting off with. We are going down Yoyoi's route. The reason I said starting off is because at the end of Keiko's route, I kind of hinted at the fact that we would be starting on the fourth choice, which leads to what I would assume what I assume would be Yoyoi's first H scene, right? But we are starting off back here in save slot 3 because I may have fucked up a bit with Keiko, that is. I mean, my fuck up didn't lead to us not going down her route, at least. But I was meant to start here, right? Because of how the guide is listed, of how the guide is written out. It has Yoyoi's route above Keiko's, and you have to go through this section to get to Keiko, kind of. Right? Because for both Keiko and Yoyoi, the choice is you don't know her. And I didn't do that in Keiko's route, so I am remedying that fuck up by doing it here for Yoyoi. So, enough rambling on. Let's get right into it, shall we?
知らない相手？へえ、そうなの。
As you can see, I may or may not have realized my fuck up. I may or may not have realized my fuck up after I clicked on the option. After a moment of surprise, Maya regained her composure and smiled at me. What? Are you going to try grill me about her?
いいえ、まさかサキちゃん以外にちゃんとそんな風に思える相手がいたなんて、と思って。
I thought of Clopra's face. Actually, it was impossible to not be interested in her. Because of the contrast between her appearance, her true self, and who she pretended to be, one couldn't help but remember her, Jesus. Hey, what do you mean by other than Saki?
言ったままの意味よ。もうずっと私とサキちゃんから逃げられないと思ってたもの。今でも捕まったままかしら。なのに他の女の人が気になるなんて。ね?
Hey, Saki's old news, alright? She was first route. I've already gone through 2 others, and you were one of them, so... Maya landed a step away from me. She looked so fragile as she stood there. It was as though she would slide away if you pushed her.
それで、そのお姉さんのどこが気になるの？美人だから？スタイルがいいから？金髪だから？
Hey, how did you know who I was imagining?
なんでもないわ。ずっと一緒だったんだもの。何でも見てきたし、何でも知ってるわ。だからどうしてそのお姉さんが2人の時は猫をかぶってないのか、その理由も知ってるし、時々エッチな冗談を言われてもやもやしてるのも知ってるわ。
Maya giggled as though she were enjoying a fun, innocent conversation. I made a bit of face at how difficult she was being. I was sure she was probably enjoying that too.
そうね。それを望んでるなら、それを叶えてあげるのが私の役目かしら。
Grant, what are you planning to do?
わかってるくせに。大丈夫。夢の中で男の人が一人で楽しんでるようなこととは違うから。
Wait, Maya, don't just act on your own.
だったら、1から10までこうしてほしいって全部指図してくれる？そうしたら全部その通りにしてあげるわ。
Maybe it was better that I saved this choice for Yoyoi's route, because this is a very Yoyoi focused scene. And I mean, like, it's not surprising that it is, considering we haven't met Keiko yet at this point in the game. That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
わかってるわ。でも大丈夫よ。私が何かしなくても勝手にそうなってしまうんだもの。
What do you mean?
私は夢を作り出せないの。だから全部望み通り、夢に見るままに任せるだけなのよ。
All of a sudden, Maya was standing behind me. She ran her hands up the back of my head, brushing me along the way. Unpleasant goosebumps broke out across my skin.
だからその夢は叶えてあげるわ。どんな夢でもね。
Maya. When I turned around, Maya was already standing out of my reach.
ほら、言ってちょうだい。その部長さんにエッチなことをしたいって。それとも。
She giggled at me with eyes that seemed to be testing me.
私に早く消えろ。そう言ってくれてもいいのよ。
When she said that,
Toru, 大丈夫?
At the sound of Club Prez's voice, I came to my senses. It was club time after school, and I'd been thinking about the dream I'd had this morning.
どうしたの? 最近ぼーっとしてることが多いみたいだけど。
You know how it is. I was just rethinking back to that wet dream I was having about you. I mean, Club Prez came in, closing the door between the preparation room and the science room. On the other side of the door, I could hear the voices of fellow club members. Is it okay to just leave them? I shook my head slowly. It seemed that I had nodded off a little.
いいのよ。カブトくんがまた勝手に変なパーツ作って、敷島くんに怒られて揉めてるだけだから。
Oh, again? That guy wanted to make the robot's arms fly out and call it a rocket punch. Plus, he was pretty good at making his new add-ons when I wasn't looking. The other day, he used compressed gas and made a rocket punch that was strong enough to punch through cardboard. Of course, I found out and dismantled it, but if the school had heard about it, then it could have been a problem. I wish they'd show some sympathy for me, since I'm the one drawing up the diagrams.
私と敷島くんが卒業したら、カブトくんとトールが最上級生ね。頑張って。
Club Press handed me some instant coffee. I thanked her and took it. The bitter taste filled my mouth and cleared my head. You sure are treating it like someone else's problem.
人事だもの。
Club Press said nonchalantly. She was showing her true self. Just from behind the door, we could... showing her true self. Just from behind the door, we could still hear Vice Club Press Shikishima lecturing about something, and another voice objecting to that. We were making a robot as a graduation project. I took a break from drawing the diagrams for the parts, and rubbed my eyes from between my glasses.
こうしてると完全にメガネキャラのくせに、そのメガネって度が入ってないのよね。
Well, it's kind of like a charm to me. Club Press knew that my glasses were just for show, but I hadn't told her why I wore them. It worried me not to have my glasses. That was all I told her. How much she understood or imagined from that was anyone's guess.
しかし、うちって本当に科学部なのかしら？やってること工学部よね。
Yeah, even though it's not like we're a technical school. We're always just making robots. Engineering was an application of science. It wasn't like we were building this from a store-bought robot kit, and we wrote the movement programs ourselves. But it was enough to be recognized by the school as a legitimate club activity, so there wasn't a problem.
私はもっと薬品実験とかの方が好きなのに。
We do that too, don't we? Club Press was fond of medicines and chemicals, and she wasn't interested in illegal drugs. That was because...
やばい薬でまずいことになるなんて当たり前すぎるでしょ？つまんないわ。
Yeah. Chemistry and drugs is so cliche nowadays. I felt like something scary would happen if I agreed with that logic, so I decided I wouldn't get into it. I don't know why I was so vague about it. Obviously, I was referencing Breaking Bad, but like, you know, there's not enough links to these. There isn't a strong enough link between these events and Breaking Bad to make a joke about it. Because, like, the club pres is a third year, not a chemistry teacher, right? The club pres did toy with chemicals on her own at times, but she also helped with the robots. She did it because she could. That's really what it came down to.
できる女は頼られて辛いわ。
Although we're no good when it comes to physical exertion.
胸が重いのよ。
She folded her arms and lifted her chest up. I can't believe you can't swim even though you have floaters like those. I'm surprised he made a joke like that. I replied, trying to pay as little attention to them as I could. Though I really wanted to look, she'd hold it over my head if I did.
じゃあ、この浮き袋もどう使えばいいのか、トールが手取り足取り泳ぎ方を教えてくれる？
Yeah, but you know, I'm sure if you looked at her chest enough times, she wouldn't hold it over your head after, like, the 10th. Sure, let's go with that number. Unamused by the lack of a response from me, she put her hands on the desk and leaned towards me. With a little help from gravity, she accentuated her bust even more before my eyes. Is it possible that there are strange rumors because you're saying things like that to people other than me? I desperately tried to hide my inner turmoil as I sipped my coffee. Self-restraint won out in the end. Club Press stood up and then sat on the edge of the table.
まさか、トール以外にこんな話してないわよ。まあ、変な噂は立ってるけど、それも美人の宿命よね。
With a laugh, Club Press brushed back her hair. Mixed with the smell of coffee, I caught a pleasant whiff of shampoo. I felt bothered by how this made me a little happy. Well, you certainly do stand out. She had a striking appearance, and on the surface, she was an exceptional, honest student. Even if it couldn't be helped that she was no good at sports, her grades were excellent, and she was an amiable person. Last year, she had even been nominated as the student council president. She had quickly declined, but there were still those who hoped for it. On the other hand, because of how she looked, rumors swirled around her.
ほんと、誰が逆ハーレムで愛人囲ってるだの、囲われてるだの、アメリカでも UK でもすごかっただの、本場仕込みだな。一体何が本場なのかしら。エロスは日本の方がよっぽどだっていうのにね。
Hang on a minute. You may not have a harem, but you definitely are part of a harem. So there's no use in denying this part of the sentence. Alright? You may not know it yet. Because the harem is only 2 people big. Right? Of Saki and you. But 2 more join. Right? One of them, you know, she kind of doesn't exist in reality, so I don't know if she counts, but because of chapter 7, you kind of have to count her. But either way, right, at the very least, one more person is added to the harem a few chapters later. She sat in resignation. Basically, the rumors were that, contrary to outer appearances, she was actually sleeping around really? She was actually sleeping around all over the place? I mean, I get she's blonde and has blue eyes, but I don't think that would make people automatically assume you're a slut. I was gonna say whore, but maybe I should have said whore. Never mind. Don't you think that maybe stupid rumors like that are still around because you don't deny them?
きちんとしてるわよ。だけど、抜きになって否定したら逆に面白がられるし、仕方ないじゃない。
I wondered if it was because she didn't deny the rumors that they remained. Well, it's true that people do have that sort of mental image of beautiful blondes.
トールにしみじみ言われると、なんかこう、普段相手にされてない女のプライド的にモヤモヤするんだけど、何かしらこれ？殺意？
I don't think that. So, please don't get the wrong idea.
そう？まあ、噂は所詮噂なんだし、根も葉もないんだからほっとけばいいのよ。
Upon hearing those words from Club Prez, I felt a small prick of pain in my chest.
何よその顔。まさか、トールも私のことを疑ってたり、そんな目で見てるんじゃないでしょうね。
No, and even if I did think the rumors were true, never mind. You don't want to know. No, I just sort of feel bad, being part of the rumors and all.
断る？何よそれ。
The two of us sometimes, or always, actually, eat lunch here, right? That started some rumors too. Yeah, I'm part of the harem in those rumors. Or you're part of my harem, which is true. But, you know, that's right. The question of what are they doing in the science room during lunch was with no one around. Apparently, this was the first Club Prez had heard of it, so she gave me a profound wry smile that was difficult to interpret. Then she put her hand on my shoulder.
シスコンの次は私とセックスしてるだなんて。トール、いつか夜道を歩いてたら嫉妬で刺されるわよ。
Yeah, at least wait until they actually do have sex together before spreading those rumors. Never mind. Club Prez, what kind of response is that for a girl? Also, with those two rumors, I don't think people think they're about the same person.
そうかしら。だとしても、まさか私の美人勢にトールまで巻き込んでいったなんて。
I wonder if the fact that everyone was together for 6 years in the school helped make it a breeding ground for things like that. I don't know what he means by that. I shifted my thoughts from the topic at hand. I mean, like, I get it, right? And I guess he's saying that because, you know, while most of these students are in the school for 6 years, Yoyoi joined 3 years ago. So, I don't know. What does he mean by that?
トールは私の噂、どこまで信じた？
From the beginning, I've never thought of you as a loose woman in the least. Seeing her true self did nothing to change that thought. It didn't matter that she stood out or was half Japanese. She was just a student. A really cute one, but a student. Same as us, only a year older. So the rumors just struck me as a little bizarre.
なんかその余裕がムカつくわね。
You tyrant. I said that I believed you.
実はトールって周りがそう言うから一緒に行ってるだけで、私のこと美人とか派手とかキュニューンとかそんなに思ってないでしょ。
I do think that. Even though I said that, Club Prez, still smiling, slid herself closer to me and looked down at me.
本当に？例えば私とセックスできるって言ったら喜ぶ？あ、愛情とか抜きにして娯楽として。
Well, you had me in the first half, but if you're saying without love, then, you know, I'll wait until marriage. If I could just enjoy it without strings attached, then of course. Not that circumstances like that were actually possible, of course. Just you wait.
なんで、 そんなに余裕があんのかしら。
Don't know. I was used to troublesome things happening in my dreams, but this wasn't the person to say that to. Normally I think she would say, that's not the same thing, but my lucid dreams are incredibly realistic. Maybe that was wearing down my mind somehow. I shook off the ominous hypothesis that popped into my head.
噂になってるなら、セックスしてみる？どうせ周りからの扱い変わんないでしょうし。
What? They will treat us differently. Very differently. So this is... I was like, surely all of this is a dream, right? I was waiting until the point in time in which it definitely does become not fantastical, but slightly unrealistic. And like, obviously Yayoi in reality would have too much pride to offer this in any serious form of in any serious way. I knew that Club Prez was just teasing me, but I couldn't help but panic.
お互い後腐れなくていいって言っても？二人で黙ってれば他に誰が知るわけでもなし。
Ow, I fucking hit my table. This was more persistent than her usual dirty jokes, which made me think. I, and Saki recently, had had various things happen to us recently, but had something happen to Club Prez. It took him a while to realize something was wrong, but the only reason he's thinking this now is because only now is Yayoi acting strange. Right? I didn't even have the luxury of noticing anything like that anymore. Then suddenly...
部長！内藤先輩、いい加減出てきてください！敷島先輩たちを止めてくださいよ！
And our pleading underclassmen scream, the tension unraveled all at once. We looked at each other. Club Prez, you need to go.
しょうがないわね。誰も行くのよ。
Guess I have no choice. This wasn't the first time Club Prez had been so insistent with her teasing. It was rare for her to say things like that. As usual, I tried to hide the fact that my heart was racing. I was desperately trying to keep my mind under control. With her lab coat flapping behind her, Club Prez got down from the desk and made her way out of the preparation room. I followed behind her. Okay, there we go. Chapter 3, Getting Entangled.
いつだったか、気楽に生きていたいって言
Blah,
っ
blah,
た
blah,
じ
blah,
ゃない。
blah. Wait, I already heard the song and dance
不器用よ
before.
ね。
This ain't my first rodeo. Okay, now we've moved on to the choice where I think we're gonna go down it. We're gonna lead to a H scene. It's going to lead to a H scene. We've gone down this choice so many times. I'm done resisting. I can't hold it back anymore. So what's gonna happen? I was unable to refuse. Are you really okay with that? Though I had to ask, it was too late, even if she said no at this point.
どうせ夢じゃない。起きてみれば、ああ、エッチな夢を見たな、なんて程度で済む話でしょ。
I think you're smart enough to know that a dream this vivid couldn't just be a dirty dream, especially since you're friends with Toru, who has lucid dreams. Club Prez shifted her position as she sounded like she was giving herself an excuse. She straddled my thighs and brushed her hand across my face.
夢のトールはメガネ、かけてないのね。どうして？
I have some circumstances. Her fingers felt cold to the touch, but my mind went to the part of her that was straddling my legs. It was soft in some places and hard in others.
我慢できない。そんなに私が欲しい。
I found myself nodding to her words.
体目当てか。ま、この状況じゃしょうがないけど、私だって我慢できないわけだし。
I couldn't hear Club Prez's voice clearly. But more importantly, the fact that Club Prez was sitting on my legs and was okay with me taking advantage of her already had me at my limit. I wanted to push her down, but the moment I thought that, she pushed against my chest and sank back into the sofa.
動いちゃダメよ。今、トールに好きにさせたら何されるかわかんないもの。乱暴にされたくないし、そっちから動いたら。
I could be gentle. Well, very, very, clearly you cannot.
その場合はきっと抵抗できないでしょうけど、後でサキちゃんに言うわ。
That was all it took to stop me in my tracks. I thought that might have made my crotch calm down a little, but it wasn't settling down at all.
よしよし、いい子ね。そうやっておとなしくしてれば気持ちよくしてあげるから。
She got off from my lap and spread my legs. I was already bulging inside my pants. As if to tease me, no, maybe she was hesitating. Meanwhile, Saki and Alice were... So even in the H scene, Toru crushed the nightmare flower. So, like, you've got one side where you resist your urge to get a paizuri from Yayoi and crush the nightmare flower, or you can release all the pent-up frustration and get a paizuri from Yayoi in... I don't want to say it was one of the hottest drawn paizuri I've seen, but it was definitely up there. You know, you can let up your pent-up frustration by getting a paizuri from Yayoi and still crushing the nightmare flower. So, you know, win-win. Just, you might be a bit more, you might get a bit closer to one, you might get a bit closer to Yayoi in one side over the other. But, you know, who's counting? Or who's keeping track? Sure. Let's go with that. Obviously, for this choice, we pick I was interested in Yayoi, especially after that H scene. Just then, I thought of Club Prez.
その顔はやっぱりいるのね。
Anything wrong with that?
悪くなんてないわ。それが私じゃなければだけど。
Why would it be you? When I said this, Maya looked up at me. I looked back at her, putting on as brave of a front as I could muster. We probed each other's intentions as though this were an endurance contest, or maybe it would be best to call it a staring contest.
だけどそれはきっと大変だと思うわ。
There is no easy paths.
そうなんだけど、うまくいくのかしら。
What are you saying you know?
なんでもって言ったら
Before I could ask what she meant, Mike kicked the ground and moved away from me.
そう選ぶんだったら、それでいいわ。私はそれをずっと見ていてあげる。
Wait, if you know everything, then what kind of dream is this?
知りたい？だけど教えてあげない。知りたければ、そうね。いつか自分でわかるようになったら、教えてあげる。
Only Maya's voice remained as she melted away. Maya, hey, Maya. What good is it to tell me when I already know? I almost said that, but she was already gone. What did she mean by that? I didn't understand it at all. If Maya really knew everything, then... Is this Maya's dream? ridiculous. I didn't quite have enough common sense to be able to say that. Just then, I heard the doors open behind me.
あら、ドール？やっぱりこの部屋に繋がるのね。
Well, this is interesting. I don't remember Saki coming here after I chose her option the last time. Club Prez. Wearing the same dream outfit she'd worn before Club Prez entered the room. She looked around and then gave a nod.
ちょうどいいわ、ドール。今度の土日って暇かしら？
Are you asking me out on a date? Sunday night, I would work. I have work. But anytime other than that, I'm open. She didn't care about my circumstances. She was probably just asking to be polite. When things were this convenient, it made me suspect that Maya might have done something. But Club Prez didn't understand why I had such a strange attitude, so she tilted her head.
なになに？デートデート？
That's what I'm asking. Looking very interested in the conversation, Ella stuck her nose in from the side, wherever she came from. Whoa, where'd you come from? That's what I fucking said.
なんだか今、面白くない言葉が聞こえたんですけれど。
This is mighty inconvenient. Saki came in behind us with Alice in tow. She must have heard the word date because she was giving me a cold look.
あら、なんだかんだで勢揃いね。
いない間に何かしてたように見えたんですけど。
Not really. Did you need something? I couldn't afford to get flustered just because everyone was here. I calmed my emotions and turned towards Club Prez again.
貸しにしておいた分を返してもらおうと思ったのよ。
弥生先輩、兄さんに何をさせるつもりですか？
Saki was a little on guard against Club Prez. It was true that Club Prez looked like a bit of a reckless person, but I wanted to think there was no need to be that defensive.
弥生、さきちゃんが警戒するようなことを何かしたの？
なんか二人の中で私が信用されてないのはどういうことかしら。
Don't you think it's because of your usual attitude?
心外だわ。私はいつも表向きは頼れる先輩であろうとしてるのに。
On the surface, it's exactly because you have that kind of attitude. But Club Prez knew that. She was just fooling around. Well, if I owe you, then I can't refuse. But what should I do this time? By the way, the reason I was in her debt was, of course, because of the sleeping pills she gave me recently.
今回はって、今まではどんなことしてきたの？
Nothing. That you need to be concerned about? Oh, nothing much. Things like cleaning up Club Prez's room. The mess had been awful, and it didn't just take up Club Prez's room, it had been encroaching into the hallway. It was that bad. Asahi had finally snapped in, with a smile, forced her older sister into cleaning it up. And instead of her cleaning it up, she enlisted Toru to clean it up for her. Great. Club Prez hated cleaning, so she summoned me to do it in her place. It shouldn't be surprising that the person who has a room so dirty that it bleeds into the hallway hates cleaning. Yeah. As a result, Asahi and I thoroughly cleaned Club Prez's room.
あの時は、トールに私の恥ずかしいところまで見られちゃったわ。
兄さん、何をしたんですか？
Just so there are no misunderstandings, the stuff she wouldn't want me to see was mostly picked up by Asahi. Like clothes and underwear that were buried under the piles and piles of other stuff, so they're essentially unusable.
まあ、散らかり放題になった部屋なんてのは、年頃の女の子としては恥ずかしいところだよね。
Cause ain't no way those clothes didn't have holes in them. Hearing Alice's guileless words, Club Prez was quietly shocked.
そういうからには、アリスはきちんと片付けできてるのよ。ねえ。
Yeah. If you count no room as a room, she doesn't have one because she isn't, you know. Actually, no. What would have been a better joke is if I said the hospital room, right? Because That's where she spent her last moments. I assume.
もともと私は持ってるものほとんどないっていうのもあるけど、片付けは得意だよ。
I got the feeling that basically Alice was almost always in this room, so she didn't have any belongings. Could it be the contents of her pockets? I saw her take out keys, hand mirrors, lipstick, candy, things you'd expect to be in someone's pocket. Was the inside of her pocket huge like the blue phone booth that came from the future? I wasn't expecting them to reference Doctor Who. Right? I thought they'd reference something that is related to, like, fantasy, not sci-fi. But sure, go ahead. And was it clean and tidy like Alice said?
なんか兄さんが変なことを考えてるみたいですけど。
No way. What are you talking about, Saki?
だけど、他にまだ何かあったんじゃないの？
そうね。あとは、一日嘘の彼氏になってもらったり、図書館とかレンタルビデオを回ってもらったりしたかしら。
Why did he need to be your fake boyfriend for that? Why did he need to be your boyfriend at all?
嘘彼氏？何それ？
There was this bad, persistent guy, and I played along with Club Press to drive him away.
それ、後に引かなかったの？
So that wasn't... Well, hang on a minute. These are two separate situations. Okay, sure, whatever. Let's just say the guy was acting like a fucking bodyguard that didn't let them check out the rental video or something. Well, what happened with that was... Club Press and I went on a fake date to prove it, and we ran into some of the young men from Hasuno Security. And the men had jokingly called me young master, and soon enough the stalking from the guy had stopped.
その折に関しては、うちの会社の社員が先輩にご迷惑をかけた上に誤解を招くような真似をして申し訳ありませんでした。
So in reality, the fake boyfriend shit didn't amount to anything. It was the Hasuno security stuff that was the real reason why he stopped bothering Yoyoi.
ああ、うんうん。いいのいいの。おかげで変なのも寄ってこなくなったし、気にしないで。
Alice wasn't able to digest the situation, so she tilted her head and looked at us. Looked as if a question mark was floating above her. It would have been a pain to explain it to her. So what are you going to have me do this weekend?
あ、うん。例のバイトが入ったから手伝ってほしいのよ。
Paperwork. Oh, that? I was relieved at hearing a saner request than I thought I would.
そうそう。ちゃんとトールにもいつも通りバイト代は出すから。
But no, I'm just helping out. And you're the one who's really doing the work, so you don't have to do that for me.
何言ってるのよ。なんだかんだで一日付き合わせるんだし、あんなの普通はバイト代でももらわないとやってられないじゃない。
あのさ、あんなのってトールに何させてるの？
一日、私の奴隷よ。
That poses more questions than answers.
兄さん？
Please wait, Globres. It's true that you do treat me pretty much as a slave, pretty much like a slave, and I offer you unconditional submission. But could we avoid saying things in a way that Saki would misunderstand?
普段からサキちゃんに絶対服従なのに、弥生にも絶対服従するの？
Also, you know, there's a difference between a slave and an employee, right? Slaves don't get paid. The fact that Tora is getting paid means that he's a wage slave. There's a difference. At Alice's casual remark, my excuses stopped cold.
あー、確かに奴隷って言い方は良くなかったわね。
That's true. Could you at least call me your assistant or something?
結局、兄さんは何をするんですか？
You could have just said employee.
あれ？トール、さきちゃんにあのバイトのこと話してないの？前に揉めたって言ってたじゃない。 ほら、ベッドがどうとか。
Saki twitched.
ああ、ベッドから知らない女の匂いがしたあの時の話ですよね。
Alice, afraid of the atmosphere around Saki, tried to run away by herself. Was she even pulling a key out of it? Was she even pulling a key out and planning to leave the room? I snapped my fingers and closed the doors firmly. Weren't you satisfied with my explanation that it was because Club President was tired and took a nap?
その前にバイトがあったとか、兄さんが手伝ってたとか聞いてませんでしたし。それに、その時から疑問に思ってたんですけど。
What doubts? I'm pretty sure I told you everything.
兄さんは寝ている弥生先輩に何もしなかったんですか？
No, but they did something while they were both sleeping together. Obviously, Yoyoi wasn't in Toru's room when they did the thing, but it was in this room where they did it.
そういえば、起きたらなんだか服が少し脱げてたような。
I think that's because your tits grew a little larger. Do you enjoy running me into a corner? And that happened because you move around so much in your sleep. Even though Saki knew it was a joke, she liked to put pressure on me anyway. I wish she wouldn't.
そこでトールが手出ししたり、何かいたずらができるとはかけらも思ってないんだけど。
まあ、確かにそうですね。兄さんですし。
Yeah, he's a bit of a pussy even though he's got all these women throwing their bodies at him. It's a bit of an exaggeration there because it's mostly just Saki and Yayoi. And Yayoi at this moment is only doing it in a teasing way. Even if there is a hint of her doing it because she likes him. But Saki, on the other hand, is 100% doing it because she likes him. And then there's Keiko, who quote-unquote doesn't care if he did anything to her. And then Alice, who isn't, she doesn't make those kinds of jokes. Why am I being assailed from all sides? Alice seemed to pity me.
愛かな。
That was a bit of a stretch. I could do without such tough love. Alice isn't wrong though. Club President's part-time job could take more than a day. We decided to get as much done as we could on Saturday, rather than Sunday when I had to go to my part-time job in the evening.
お邪魔します。
Come on in. Club President came in after giving the proper greeting. There was probably something wrong about actually feeling relieved that she didn't barge in without permission. We basically had Saturdays off at our school, but for interested parties, there were things like supplementary studies and extra classes.
そういえば、トールは課外授業を受けなくて大丈夫なの？
I thought supplementary studies happen after you fail a test. And you have to take supplementary classes to make up for the fact that you failed the test. I've consumed enough anime to know that's a real threat to most anime protagonists because most of them are close to failing. They're below average in grades. Clopres asked as she took off her shoes and entered the apartment. My grades aren't that bad, and I don't intend to go to college anyway, so it's fine. In our school, with its escalator system, I don't know why that took me so long to read. People generally took supplementary studies if they needed more credits. And extra classes if they wanted to study, so they could enter a college. Ah, okay, I got it. I gotcha. Club Pres was the one who was going to college, so was it alright for her to have a part-time job like this? Well, because we set a precedent, my apartment is now your workroom.
こんな昼間から部活の先輩を連れ込んで何をする気なの？
I would plan to do a lot of things. Only after they start dating, though. Club Pres made a cute, fake gesture of being annoyed. The work you brought, Club Pres.
ねえ、わかってるわ。
She let out a sigh. If you don't feel up to it, then you shouldn't accept the work. Just like last time, Club Prez put her work tools on the table, which had already been cleaned off.
せっかく私に話を回してくれてるのに悪いじゃない。それに、時間で考えれば割のいいバイトだし。
In that sense, it's helpful to me too. What she had placed on the table were a dictionary and a loose-leaf bundle, and several Western books. Club Prez's part-time job was...
それじゃ、頑張って翻訳していきますか。
Uh-huh. So, it's not paperwork in that sense, but it is something similar. Translating Western books. But Club Prez, it looks like you have several books. We're not doing all of them, right?
違うわ。今日も児童向け一冊だけよ。こっちはシリーズの前の巻。トールも見たことあるでしょ？
She showed me one of the books underneath, and I was relieved to see it was a cover I'd seen before.
それじゃ、始めましょうか。
And so we get started. That's a very unique part-time job. Especially considering Toru is helping her. Because, like, okay, I can see Yayoi being able to translate these books because she's lived in the West. I don't know exactly where she lived. I don't remember if they said. But she's able to speak English, right? That's the main point I was trying to get at. And she's obviously able to speak Japanese too, so she'd be able to translate English to Japanese. But, like... how is... I don't remember Toru being that good at English. In this case, Western meant that these books were in English. Club Prez rendered what were considered children's novels overseas into Japanese text. She would write on a sheet of loose leaf, and I would sit next to her and enter the text into the computer. It was quite a tedious process. Ah. So... Yayoi is doing the translating. I thought Toru was also doing the translating, but he's just transcribing. Alright, gotcha. Now it makes more sense. I still don't get why Yayoi is doing this, but it makes sense that she would enlist Toru for help, considering he doesn't need to learn English to be able to do this job, because he's just transcribing what Yayoi is writing down. Never mind. I know I'm always saying this, but you need to learn to type, Club Prez.
無理。あと、爪割れそうで怖いし。
She made a face like a child confronted with her least favorite school subject. Even though she could handle a smartphone touchscreen, apparently she wasn't good at using a computer keyboard. But my job wasn't just data entry.
ここでシーンは一区切りかしら。
She tidied up her notebook. Since this was a children's novel, it had more text than a picture book, but much fewer words than your average novel, and also the complexity of the words is much simpler. Words are much simpler? Sure. After we gathered all the parts of the scene, the work that Club Prez designated me as helper for began. Yeah, so Club Prez, starting with this.
2行目からとは、相変わらずスパルタね。
You've had some in the first line before, though. What? What? I'm very confused about what this is. You're Spartan as ever to start with the second line. You've had some in the first line before, though. Although it's a kid's book, so I think it sounds strange to say atrocious all of a sudden. What? I pointed it out on the computer screen with a mouse cursor.
じゃあ、トールはどうすればいいと思う？
Are they referring to how Yayoi translated certain words? I think just that's terrible or something would be fine.
なるほど。 ひどいよった。
She said it out loud as she corrected it in her notebook with a red pen. I corrected the text on the computer. So next, there's an elementary school kid, right? Normally a kid wouldn't say too lenient. Okay, so he's going over what Yo-Yo translated and proofreading for her. I don't think you understand by now, but Club Press knew the grammar well for both languages, and she got good grades in Japanese class at school, but how come you can do it when you talk, but you sound so stiff when you write?
いや、きっと私、話すときと文章を見るときに使ってる頭の回路が違うのよ。
I mean, to be fair, she doesn't speak kanji, right? So, like, you know, she was really poor at expressing things with words. Why don't you try saying it out loud before you write it?
いやよ、横でトールが聞いてるんでしょ？そんなの恥ずかしいじゃない。
She looked genuinely embarrassed, with no trace of her usual cool attitude.
あと、多分一回このまま文章に移さないと忘れちゃうと思うし。
Was that what she meant by different circuits?
ほらほら、まだ最初のシーンよ。どんどんやらないと終わらないわ。
That's true. So why is this guy suddenly laughing with such an impersonal guahahaha?
いいでしょう。なんで消すのよ。
I deleted the text in silence, leaving it blank. Like I said before, it's not what a kid would say. Come on, think of a more childlike laugh.
これでやつも困るだろう。うん、ごめん、それも違うわ。
Yeah, that sounds like a line you would learn from watching anime. I didn't want to deal with it anymore, so I rewrote the laughter as ah ha 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 without saying anything. Maybe it would be better if I took care of altering the text, but I had hardly read the original work. If I tried and had a dictionary at hand, I would read it, but we didn't have time for that. This character is the leader kid who appeared in the earlier volumes, right?
あ、うん、そうよ。だけど、そんな笑い方でいいのかしら。
You really aren't cut out to be a novelist, are you? Club Frizz looked annoyed. She checked both versions to make sure that the alteration fit the original work. Wait. Oh, come on. Why are there weird things going on in every line? Are you waiting for witty quips on all of them? The screen was covered in the @ signs. Yeah, sure. I'd use when I wasn't sure about something.
迷惑かけるわね。これが終わったらサービスしてあげるから頑張ってね。
When I heard Little Favor, I almost thought of something dirty, but I managed to stop it just before Club Prez would have noticed. Well, yeah, I can also think of a little favor she could do, but unfortunately she would need to use her mouth. So, you know, you wouldn't be able to ask for any input while she's giving you that little favor. What? Teasing me like that can wait up until after.
はーい。トールってば結構真面目なんだから。
She looked unenthusiastic even though she'd brought the work onto herself.
だけど、後でってことは、後でならしたいの？
Just concentrate on this. In awkward tandem, we continue to translate this children's story into Japanese.
もう無理！お菓子！お茶！
I still haven't gotten my answer of why she's doing this. Club Chris stretched out her arms and flopped onto the sofa behind her. It just bounced when she did so, and my eyes were inadvertently drawn to them. But Club Chris must have been tired because she didn't notice. She was still leaning back, spread eagle, or rather in a Y shape. I guess I'll prepare some tea. That was part of my job as a helper. This work wasn't that difficult for me, so I had the energy to prepare some snacks. Well, you aren't the one translating, you're just proofreading over her work. So you're doing slightly less work than her, because she kind of had to... She's basically switching from English to Japanese constantly in her head, so it's definitely like a lot of... a little exhausting. I was going to say a lot exhausting, but that doesn't sound right. While I was preparing them, Clapres seemed to recover during her short rest and sat up.
それにしても不公平だわ。
What isn't? Clapres gave a rare tight expression. Without hiding her feelings, she allowed herself to look listless. When I replied, she had an expression that said she was tired.
同じ理系なのに、どうしてトールはきちんとお話の文章に変換できるのよ。
I think the better question is, why are you doing this in the first place? I think that's about... I think just about anyone could do it better than you.
だって出版社の人も褒めてたもの。きちんと子供向けのいい文章に翻訳してあるって。
Well, I don't think I could do it with anything that wasn't for kids. Clapres tilted her head, apparently wondering what I meant. I prepared the tea with the boiled water. When we were little, my sister would pester me to read her lots of picture books. Not only the ones that were in the house, but also the ones we found in the local library. I handed Clapres a cup of black tea. She accepted it and said,
指が当たっちゃった。とかそういうのは期待してないわよね。
I'm surprised she didn't follow through on the teas. It's hot, so don't burn yourself. I did think her fingers were pretty and soft, and I was conscious of them for a moment, but I didn't do anything that cliched.
それで、いろんな絵本ってどのくらい読んだの？
To be honest, I don't remember how many I read. Also, I guess they can be called discussions now. We talked about our thoughts on what kind of story it was when we finished it. We also talked about what lines were good or sounded strange. I'm glad I don't do this for these visual novels, because they're damn fucking long. Since it had continued since I was small, I had become quite knowledgeable about children's stories. But we had only discussed books that I could read out loud to her. So I could only do this with children's books.
なるほど。確かにサキちゃんは文系だものね。納得だわ。
Saki always said that she didn't want anything that didn't have a happy ending. But I had a different opinion. I thought it was fine as long as it was a satisfying ending for that particular story. From my point of view, it seems much stranger that you're translating children's books, Clapres. I prepared my own tea and snacks and headed for the table.
トールのせいよ。最初は私だって科学史の一項目翻訳するのを手伝っただけなんだもの。
Okay, that makes more sense for you to do, but now you've transitioned to children's books. It's my fault. I had no idea why that would be.
そうよ。人手が足りないからって子供向けの絵本の翻訳をとりあえずで頼まれて、部室でうなってたらトールが助けてくれたんじゃない。
What do you mean there is a shortage of translators? Shortage of translators where?
そしたら編集部でも好評で、こうして続けて仕事が来るようになっちゃったのよ。
Clapres looked at the book out of the corner of her eye and heaved a serious sigh. Well, whether or not it was my fault aside, it was true that I had been the one to help her when I saw her exhausted in the club room, holding a notebook with strange Japanese in it. It was full of odd sentences that sounded like they came from a historical play. I had gotten curious and asked her about it, so it couldn't be helped.
さておいてってどういう意味よ。
Actually, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. Tori brought up that the only reason he's able to... He knows... How do I say? Yeah, the only reason he knows how to write for children's books is because of the children's books he read to Maya. right? So, like, why doesn't Yayoi do that too? So that she doesn't need someone else to proofread over her work. I mean, she would still need a proofreader regardless, right? Toru can help with that, but it would be a lot less work if she, you know, did the research by reading up on Japanese children's books, right? No, I'll take responsibility and help you out, but I mean, why were you translating stuff in the first place? That's what I'm saying. I'm still...
パパ、父さんの友達が編集部の人なのよ。それで、うちに遊びに来た時に困ってて。
Okay, so that's the answer.
科学史の仕事を付き合いで引き受けたんだけど、専門知識のある人がいないからどうしようって。
A science magazine. I'm surprised you were able to translate something so technical.
まあ、その時は私も知ってる分野だったし、あとはネットで間違ってないか確認しながらだったわよ。1ページもなかったからそれでなんとかなったし、その時は。
You managed it then, but you got asked again later. Why did you take on picture book translation?
絵本だなんて思わなかったのよ。また専門的なちょっとしたサイズのものだと思ったのよ。
So that was what led to me discovering her groaning in the club room.
それでトールが手伝ってくれたのが好評で。
Did you tell them I helped you?
言ったら今度からできるだけ2人でやってくださいねって言われたわ。ただしバイト代据え置きで。うわーじゃないわよ、ほんと。
Oh, I'm glad I held wow for long enough. Club Press held her head. But if it was a children's book, it could be finished in a day or two, and the pay was good for the amount of work. So for me, it was a pretty nice gig. Maybe this is a naive question, but why were you agonizing over it in the club room that time? Technically, it was the preparation room. It was a day off. I was at club finishing a diagram when I called out the club prez, who was groaning over a picture book with a dictionary next to it. That was how this all started.
家で朝日に手伝ってもらおうと思ったら、哲也連れてきてたのよ。
It would be hard to ask for her help in that situation. Right, Club Prez said as she reached out for a cookie and bit into it. In other words, so various things led to the situation.
そういうこと。恨み事は言わないけど、原因の一端なんだから、通りにはもうちょっと付き合ってもらうわよ。
Yeah, but like, you're the one who continued to translate for picture books after you got complimented for the first one you did. Right? The only reason she took up the job of translating after she did those pamphlets was because she wanted to do more technical work. She was thinking she had to translate more technical work, right? But found out that she was just translating for kids' books. Then, after she finished translating that, she submitted the work, got praised for it, and instead of asking for the technical work that she thought she was going to translate initially, she kept translating for children's books. You see where I'm getting at here? It's like, you're just as responsible, if not more so, especially because you're the one who is getting the jobs, than Toru is. Right? I have no reason not to, so I'll help as much as you want.
やっぱり不公平だわ。そんな文章力少し分けなさいよ。天は何物適当に与えて回る気よ。
Like I said, if you want to be as good as Toru, research Japanese children's books. Alright? It isn't that hard. Especially because it's fucking elementary school Japanese. For you of all people to say that, she was a perfect example of someone who had two of the most important God-given gifts, brains and beauty. For her to complain about fairness while having those two things, it was hard to take.
あら、私だって今の私になるまでにそれなりに苦労はしてるんだけど。
But hard work can only take a person so far. When I said this, Club Prez gave a cold expression, which she rarely showed to other people, or at least had never shown me, when other people were around.
ま、必要なければそれで十分だものね。
I think so too. I ignored Club Prez's expression. Even she had times when she wore such a face. We'll get going again when we finish our tea. There seems to be more pages this time around. With that, Club Prez returned to an expression she wore often. It was like she had tasted something bitter.
これ終わったら肉食べに行くわよ。生ハムよ、ハム。それにチーズ、トマトに赤ワインが私を呼んでるわ。
Oh, how fancy. Why uncured ham, though? You could have easily just gone for, like, a fucking steak. You're half British, aren't you? What's with that parade of Italian food? Or at least, it was generic European food. It wasn't exactly staples of British cuisine. Well, yeah, she didn't ask for baked beans.
疲れ切った体にイギリスのご飯は拷問だと思わない？
I've never eaten much British food, so... Club Prez looked at me seriously.
今度、用意してあげよっか？なんなら、私が食べさせてあげてもいいわよ。
If you want to feed him, at least go out with him first. At least start dating him first. Why would you do that? What's your ulterior motive?
家にあるマーマイトを一刻も早くなくしてしまいたいのよ。
Marmite was basically Beerlese. Club Prez often complained that it was salty and sour, and hard to eat if you weren't used to it. Right. Asahi or someone will just buy some more, so you'll never be able to get rid of it anyway. And apparently Asahi couldn't live without it. I'd seen Tetsuya desperately eating it in an attempt to get used to the taste. I prefer Vegemite, but that's because I'm Australian, and Marmite is the inferior Vegemite. Alright, that's all I'm gonna say. By the way, he once offered me a toasted sandwich with Marmite. I respectfully declined.
あれがある限り、我が家に平穏はないわ。
Hang on a minute. Listen, I just think... especially from this description, I just think Tetsuya ate it wrong. Right? Because the way you're meant to be eating Marmite / Vegemite, especially for, toast, is you put on a small spread, right? You put on a light amount of Marmite, and then you add butter to it, right? Sure, you can also choose to only add Marmite, and you can add as much as you want. But if you aren't used to the flavor, you can mask it with butter or something sweeter, right? You don't need you don't have to start off with straight Marmite, a straight Vegemite. I'll accept the blame for reminding you of it. So let's get back to work, okay?
そうね。
Even though we just came off of our break, she didn't look like she'd recovered. Club Prez, who was translating kids' books, even though she was totally science-minded, picked up the book with its bookmark and sighed deeply.
いらっしゃい。ようこそ、夢の部屋に。何よ、お化けでも見たような態度。失礼しちゃうわ。
ごめん。でも、マヤって、だいたいそんなもんよね。
そういうものの見方もあるわね。だけど、夢の住人をお化けだって言うなら、アリスだって似たようなものじゃないかしら。
あの子もゴーストじゃないって保証はないんだけど。
そういえばそうだったわね。
アリスのこと、マヤも分かってないの？
ええ、 知らないわ。そう言っておこうかしら。
ブラフかどうか分かりづらいところだわ。
世の中のことなんて知っていても知らなくてもどっちでもいいと思わない？
この夢を世の中にくくっていいものなのかな？
何？その何か聞きたそうな目は。
私なりにこの夢のことを考えたり気にしたり、なんとなくの推察はできてるんだけど、マイヤに聞いて答えが返ってくるとも思わなくて。
答えるだけは答えてあげるわよ。本当のことを言うかどうかは知らないけど。
そういう態度だって知ってるから聞かない。変に気になることだけは言いそうだし。
あら、残念だわ。そうすると、ルーティとはどんなお話をすればいいのかしら。
トールの昔の話とかしてくれたらいいのかも。
ルーティの昔の話をしてくれるならいいわ。
なしで。あんまり面白い話もできないし。
残念。だけど、普段彼とルーティって何してるの？
何って、特に何かしてるわけでもないわよ。普通に同じ部活の先輩と後輩で、まあ、仲がいい方だとは思うけど。
なんだか一緒のバイトをしたり、お薬を融通したりしてるみたいだけど。
バイトは翻訳の仕事なんだけど、言葉の壁があるからそこをサポートしてもらってるだけよ。
それじゃあ、お薬は？
普通に睡眠薬です。さすがに薬局じゃ買えないけど、日本の病院でももらえるものよ。
なんでそれをルーティが持ってるの？
個人輸入？いや、これもちゃんと許可取ってるから。多分本当は人にあげたりしちゃダメなんだけど。
いいこと聞いちゃった。これでルーティを脅せるわ。
私を脅して一体何が望みなのよ。
そうね。一緒にこの世界でいたずらをするときに手伝ってもらおうかしら。いけないことしてるのをバラされたくなければ。ね
脅されちゃうんじゃ仕方ないな。私は良かれと思ってやったことだったのにな。
とても白々しいけど、そんなルーティは結構好きだわ。
ありがとう。だけど手伝うのはいたずらまでよ。
わかってるわ。それ以上は私だって嫌だわ。嫌われたくないもの。
本当にそう思ってるならいいんだけど。
あら、嘘なんてついてないわ。ただ必要ないことは喋ってないだけよ。
一番厄介なパターンだわ。